I wouldn't say you're a racist, but I mean, you should probably look at history to see like, hey, why do we have affirmative action, and then what's the importance of it?
And that's the...
Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you as well.
How would you classify or like characterize, where we are as a country right now, racially, between, black, white?
Not in a good spot.
Not in a good spot?
No.
No, you think it's worse?
Yeah.
So, like, why would you say that? Worse than when, or why?
I mean, it's just, I don't know what the root cause of it is. It's just we're not in a good spot. It's just, I mean, you look at events. I mean, even most recently, it happened this weekend. It's like it just shows where it's kind of like going to race wars. It's just different times.
And this is kind of what you see that in the media,
mm-hmm.
right? A lot.
Mm-hmm.
But being a comedian, having spent a lot of time around black comics or a lot of black people just disproportionately in comedy, and then I've gone to churches that are very mixed. My interactions on a personal level are very positive, lifelong relationships. But if you watch the media, you're going to hear about the race wars and the division. Do you think there's maybe that? Are your personal interactions with white people worse than ever?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like what? What kind of stuff do they do?
I mean, you have all kinds of stuff. You have the people that think it's acceptable to touch your hair, like you're a dog. You have the people that, I mean, it's all kinds of different things that just happen.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, okay, that's not acceptable by no shape, form, or fashion, so I don't know why we're doing this.
That seems like a jump, though, from that to race war.
Well, I mean, it's like, I'm trying to think of some other things that have happened.
So he's saying majority of his interactions with white people are problematic. I'd really try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I'm sorry, it's hard to believe that he's telling the truth. Because white people are just normal people, the same way any race of human is just a normal human. So it's borderline impossible for me to believe that an entire race has it out specifically to get you, and that majority of your interactions with them are so poor that you think a race war can be uprooted from our current racial state in the country. I'm sorry, it's hard for me to believe. It really is.
Called names by people.
Yeah.
It's been all kinds of like random things.
Yeah.
I've been not welcome inside of places before. It's all kinds of like, it just depends on like where you're at.
Are you from Dallas here originally?
Yep.
What area specifically?
Mansfield.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to, Mansfield, where is that?
By Fort Worth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a nice area. So, what was it like being raised? Like, how would you classify your neighborhood? How would you sort of describe it?
I mean, Mansfield's a primarily, I think, white area.
Yeah.
Suburban America.
Mm-hmm.
Actually was one of like the last school districts in the country to desegregate.
Right.
So I mean, it's, they have their problems. I didn't really deal with much there.
Right.
I think I really was exposed to stuff until I was an adult.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was mostly white suburban, so you'd think you'd be exposed to those people so you're saying when you were young, it was mostly decent?
Yeah.
The interactions?
Mm-hmm.
But you just said that majority of your interactions were racist. But then, on the other hand, you said that you grew up in supposedly one of the most racist places, but you never dealt with any racism. But now that you're an adult, you're dealing with all types of things. You know what? Maybe he's telling the truth. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's see.
Okay. What do you think about, bringing that up? This is a white guy's perspective. The segregation coming back in colleges and black-only spaces, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned to be desegregated. We're moving back toward that under a different guise. Where do you line up on that? You think that's productive?
What do you mean?
To have black-only spaces either in high schools or colleges, right, to label those things. Seems to me, as an ignorant white guy, it's kind of like segregating again.
I can see that. I mean, I think everybody needs their safe space to where they can go be their authentic self, where they can, really like vibe with other people that are, like them. I'm not saying like it should be like, white only or black only locations or slots or stuff, but like, I mean, if you see black people gather in certain places, like, okay.
No, I mean, those are policies. Like, those are actual policies, like at schools now, where they'll have black-only spaces, which doesn't seem like that's really...
What school was that?
Well, it started with Mizzou, right? And there have been a few others in, so we just had the affirmative action ruling, where they said no, because Asians were sort of suffering at the hands of Harvard and Brown. Where do you line up on that? Do you think that it's... do you think that that's an issue that anyone who would say, I don't think that categorizing people, accepting them by race, even if you disagree with them, does that make that person a racist who thinks affirmative action is maybe not the best?
So if you don't agree with affirmative action, are you a racist?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say you're a racist, but I mean, you should probably look at history to see like, hey, why do we have affirmative action, and then what's the importance of it?
And and I'm not going to bash him or anything because that's his opinion. But that's a big thing I hear when it comes to affirmative action. It's always about, let's look at history. Let's look at history. Let's see why it's affirmative action. Of course there's affirmative action. We have a history of civil rights. That's what I hear. But the problem with that is you ever heard the phrase, the sins of the father fall upon the son? That's how people look at affirmative action. They're not punishing the people who were in history. They're not even helping the people who were in history. They're punishing the ancestors of the people who were in history. And not even all the ancestors, because if you didn't know this, majority of white Americans' ancestors did not own slaves. The majority of white Americans do not even make $80,000 per year in this country, if you didn't know that. Which, by the way, an $80,000 salary is not enough to send one child to college for 4 years straight. But anyways, affirmative action is wrong because not only does it discriminate off of the basis of race, it lowers the standards or raises the standards based off how you look at it for another race. In any other circumstance, this would be wrong. But when it comes to college admissions, you think that having different sets of standards, and I'm not making this up. Look it up if you want. I'm not making this up. You think having a different set of standards for one race is okay versus another race. That is literal racism. That is racism. And of course, there could be ways where affirmative action could make sense, but the way it's operating now is just pure, unadulterated racism.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you got to realize, like, people, so I've been hired at jobs before because they told me I'm black.
Right.
That's not acceptable. Right. So it's like, it gets used in...
That's affirmative action.
Sometimes used in good ways, sometimes used in bad ways. Moments like that, it's like, okay, cool, I'd rather you look at, like, my qualifications, see, like, hey, what is it that I do?
Right.
And see, like, okay, great, you're the best candidate for this, versus, like, okay, cool, you got it because you're black.
Okay.
So, I mean, it just depends overall.
So it sounds like you're saying that maybe affirmative action, not a great thing if someone's just hiring you because of your race.
I think
that's all it does. There is nothing else about it.
He thinks it's a great thing if it benefits him. If it doesn't benefit him, he doesn't think it's a great thing.
It's hiring people based on their race, right? And honestly, that's got to be a terrible feeling if you're like, well, I feel like I've accomplished a lot. I'd rather you look at my accomplishments than just say I'm hiring you because you're black. Mm-hmm. That seems racist to me.
Well, I mean, part of the thing is, like, I don't know, no offense to you, I don't know if white people understand this, but it's like, black people just get looked over all the time. Where it's like, it doesn't matter what our accomplishments are. If you look at me on a piece of paper and a white person on a piece of paper, it's going to be two different experiences.
Okay.
I've seen it firsthand in corporate America. I've seen it firsthand in the universities as well.
So this is one thing that I think maybe we can you... Maybe
No, you haven't. You're using anecdotal evidence to support your claim. That's not true. Especially nowadays. The only time where I can see a person who's black, well, I'm not even going to go down that alley because what you're saying is just not true. It's anecdotal. That's not real evidence. I'm not even going to entertain that. It's not true. And people always try to paint that narrative. Well, black people get looked over all the time, so we deserve this. You know what? There can even be a claim that the African American community deserves it if we had the same reading levels as every other community. If we were neck and neck when it came to reading levels of other communities for our children who are in elementary schools, you know what? It could be a claim. If we were neck and neck when it came to SAT scores, when it came to grades, and we were right there with other communities, but we were still getting looked over, it would be an argument for it. But the problem is, we're the lowest when it comes to SAT scores. Well, I don't know that for certain. We are the lowest when it comes to reading levels, though. We're the lowest when it comes to college degrees. We're the lowest when it comes to high school graduates. We're the lowest when it comes to marriage rates. We're the lowest when it comes to all these things, but yet we're still getting the same opportunity. And that is wrong. That's wrong. Because other races, when it comes to academia, objectively work harder. And I'm not saying that to slight one community over the other. It's just true. I'm sorry, it's just true. But the problem is, we aren't there with them when it comes to reading levels, when it comes to studying, when it comes to grades, when it comes to test scores. We're not even there with them when it comes to college applications by the percentiles. But we're still getting similar results, better results. That's not right, man.
Maybe come to a place with white people here. Let's say I'm a white business owner, okay? You just voiced displeasure, and I understand, with someone not hiring you, looking at 2 resumes because they don't necessarily know, okay. But then you also said that it was kind of crappy that someone hired you because you're black. What's a white business owner to do?
I mean, here's the thing. It shouldn't have to be something that's a policy that's there. It should just be something that you're doing because it's the right thing to do. It shouldn't be like a thing of, okay, cool, I know I need to increase my diversity numbers, because that's normally what it is. I need to increase my diversity numbers, and then from there, then we're going to hire black people. So it's like, no, that's just the right thing to do. Mirror your customers.
What is the right thing to do, to hire based on race, or to hire based on
the right thing to do is hire diversity, have a diverse workforce.
But what if they're not the best person?
Then, hey, you can find people. If like they say, if Beyonce can find 14 black trombonists, I'm sure you can find 1 black person to join your team. It's not that hard.
But somewhere there's likely a Japanese American trombonist who got screwed out of a job, was very good at it, just like Harvard and Brown, right? Who had higher SAT scores.
Which is fine. I mean, it's one of those things. It's just.
He said it's fine.
Are they racist?
No, I mean, it's one of those things where you know what you want. So it's like, okay, if you know what you want, then like.
But what if you don't want it? What if you just want the best trombonist?
Then do what you have to do.
Okay, so it sounds like we would find common ground and then hire the best person and do what you want, and it shouldn't be policy to force on someone, because that doesn't turn someone not racist. Like a Klansman's not going to hire black people because of affirmative action, no matter what, right? But maybe someone else might hire you just because you're black, and that's a crappy feeling. As opposed to your accomplishments.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I think that makes sense. I was trying to make sure that we understood where we line up. And safe spaces we were talking about.
This person just confused me so bad. It kind of stressed me out a little bit. But if you have any suggestions for me, comment down below. I'm for Jojo, and I'll see you later.